Welcome to this episode of Illegal Shift. I'm Jason Kiefer. In this episode, we're going to be talking about who lost the offseason. Was it the Chiefs or was it the Cowboys? Also, news in New England, the Patriots, the new sheriff in town, Jared Mayo, the head coach of the Patriots, laying down the law of what's going to be acceptable and not in New England this fall. Also, in the Olympic news, we got finals. What happened in the Olympics? We're going to break it all down for you. If you wanted to look at the Olympics and just talk about one thing, what would it be? I'll tell you everything you need to know about the Olympics. Also, we're going to talk about some breaking news and some other fronts. Keith's going to talk about some baseball. And, of course, day 29 of the Brandon Ayuk situation. We're going to go ahead and start the show. I'm going to go. I need to put out a bolo for Keith, so I'm going to go ahead and start it now. Let's do Illegal Shift.
The growing calls across the nation to defund the
Giving them business down there at the 15-yard penalty.
There was no foul on the play. It was not a hold. The defender was just overpowered.
Illegal shift on the kicking team. That penalty is refused. First down.
Guns up, giddy up, Wolfpack. It's Failure to Stop. It's your favorite podcast on earth. Thank you for making Failure to Stop your first podcast of the day, whether it was Illegal Shift and, of course, Last Call. They had a big episode over there this morning. If you're listening on the audio later, it was yesterday, but they were talking about everything going on in the United Kingdom, about how you're not allowed to have a thought that's against the Crown's thoughts. But joining me now is firefighter Lieutenant Jason Kiefer. He's a man for all seasons. Jason, my best friend for the next hour. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm good. A little bit of a hectic morning, apparently.
It's hectic, yeah. It's also unusual that I'm doing this show and I've been awake for an hour and a half. So I'm actually in like good shape this morning. Very unusual.
You might have gotten more sleep than me.
What'd you say?
You might have gotten more sleep than me. Last night fucking sucked.
Oh, I thought you said I might have gotten more sleep with you, and I can assure you that if I was with you, we would be asleep because it wouldn't be anything else. So.
I find it very ironic that we said guns up, giddy up after how Last Call just ended.
Yes. Will Cray's here. Mike Dutcher's here. Deadleg Media's here, begging me to cover the situation with the horse semen, which I refuse to cover here. Guys, Eric has plenty of space for that, right? He's got a show on Monday.
I'll see if I can find some
Don't do it. No, he's got a show on Wednesday. He's got a show on Friday. We got one show around here that doesn't have Eric in it talking about horse semen. It's this one. I don't have a lot of weight to throw around here, but I do have some. And you know what? If people want to know about that, just look it up yourselves. You don't need me to do that for you. And he'll be back here to report on it, I'm sure, on Friday. There'll be a big semen case breakdown on Friday about it. We've got other stuff to talk about. You know, I want to be. That's the thing about Illegal Shifts. You know, is we're not necessarily the most popular show. In fact, the stats show that we are the least popular show. But we're also like the outliers, right? We're the outsiders. We're like the few first responders around here that like sports. And so let's do the different thing. Let's have a break. Let's have a break from taking a break, but also not get back to doing our job. Before I get started, do you care if I just do the ad reads real quick?
Let's do it, buddy.
I like supporting the people that support me, which is why I support you. Folks, the show is brought to you by GhostBed. Use the offer code Wolfpack to save 40% on all the wares that you can find at ghostbed.com. Ghostbed.com is a website that sells ghost beds, which is sleep technology that's made out of sustainably harvested human ghosts. Sleep so good it's scary. Mattresses, adjustable bed frames, cooling sheets, cooling technology, cooling pillows. Everything that you would find in an American bedroom except one thing. You can find it at ghostbed.com. We encourage you to go over there, use that offer code Wolfpack. You can save 40% or more. They support first responders, firefighters, police officers, veterans of almost any country. And even if your credit is not so good, even if you're broke as a joke like Antonio Brown is, you can save when you go over there. So even if you're a piece of shit, which you might be, well, I don't know, you might be. Some people are, and I believe those people deserve to sleep well as well. You can go to ghostbed.com, use the offer code. We appreciate them. And you can try it out for 101 nights, which is a long time. for some of us, depending on our worldview. Also, Factor meals. Right now I'm enjoying Factor meals. I'm doing this thing where I'm about to turn 40, less than a month, about a month away. I'm going to turn 40, which is the same thing as driving off a cliff, in terms of your life changing. And I'm trying to decide what kind of 40-year-old man am I going to be. I'm going to be healthy and fit. I'm going to be a soggy piece of shit.
Bitter and angry.
Bitter, angry, full of grease and salt and cholesterol. Well, the thing is, I'm eating a lot of processed foods, and they're saying that my cholesterol is higher. And for the first time in my life, I'm actually having to care about such things. And my doctor, every year I get an exam. He says, next year at this time, I'm going to get in there, meaning your butt. He's going to do a colonoscopy on me. I think the only thing keeping him out of there is just the number of other people that need it. It's kind of a logjam of colonoscopies that he's up against. But also, just keeping myself in good shape. This is not medical science. The idea of eating Factor meals is going to keep you away from a colonoscopy. It's not medically sound, and you should ignore this. But do take care of yourself. I'm using Factor meals to do that. I'm managing my calories. I'm managing my food intake. I'm not eating on a whim. What I had been doing is when I'm hungry, I'm going to eat, and I'm going to eat whatever I find, which was normally food at a gas station, which is pretty bad for you. Just because I'm constantly either podcasting, I'm on the road, or I'm at work, and I'm under a lot of stress. And now I have the thoughtfulness, the mindfulness to plan my meals, and I'm not much of a planner. But Factor Meals does that for me. So go over to Factor Meals, use the offer code WOLFPACK50. You could save half off to start. You could choose your meals. You could just, first of all, when you sign up, you tell them, what kind of person are you? Well, I want to cut calories. I want to do carb conscious stuff. I want to do vegetarian, pescatarian, whatever it is that you are, you could set that up. And then even if you forget to pick out your meals, they won't bother you. They're not going to call you at home when you're busy. They'll just be like, well, John likes these kinds of meals. So they send me the stuff that I like. So I've got a fridge full of food that I like, and I didn't even have to pick it out. If you're one of these people that you hate meal planning because you hate deciding things, Factor Meals also just decides for you. And because they know you and they know what you like, they send you stuff that you like. So the other night I had some delicious, it was basil chicken and risotto, and it was wonderful, Keith. I don't know what you're eating. I imagine most of the time when I like to think about you, it's shirtless on the floor, covered in Cheetos dust, with a beer in your hand at 10 a.m. But because you just got off shift at 5 in the morning, so it's it's fine that you're doing that. But that's how I see. And if that's how you are and you're happy, that's fine. But if you are that way and you want to change, Factor Meals will be the first ones to help you do that. So thanks to Factor Meals for supporting the show. Keith, before we get started, I do want to check in with you because I started the show without you because I forgot to send you a link and I blamed you for it like a true narcissist. But what do you expect from a dispatcher treating a firefighter some way? How are you? Bring me up to speed on how you are.
I'm good. I had some days off, went back to work yesterday. We got slammed. You can tell I had to shave my face, which I hate. But
I hate it too. It looks terrible on you.
It's good to see my crew hang out again, be back at the firehouse. But yeah, we got smoked. So not a whole lot of sleep.
Is that a pun?
Yeah, kind of, sort of.
Is it because most people die from smoke inhalation and not from actual burning?
Facts.
Yes, that's good commentary on firemen fighting. You're just facts. Smoke equals bad.
Smoke is bad.
Smoke equals bad. How are you and Antonio Pepperoni doing over at One More and I'm Out of Here?
We're doing well. He's out of town. He left after our last podcast. He'll be back this weekend. But I know you're gonna ask. We're gonna do a One More and I'm Out of Here live tomorrow night at 8 p.m. My buddy Rich from Engraved in USA, who's one of our sponsors, he's gonna come on and co-host with me. So
tomorrow night at 8.
Yep.
Thursday at 8?
He gets off work late, so.
Thursday at 8?
Yeah. Eastern time.
Don't you think that's a bad date and time to be doing a show?
Yeah, it is. It actually is, and I considered that. But.
You didn't consider it very hard.
I got to keep rolling, my man.
You got to keep rolling. You don't care that you're going to be in direct competition with me for live watchers, huh?
I'm gonna have it on TV up here, though.
You know what we should do?
What should we do?
We should both do our shows, but also live stream the other person's show on the show. So it's just an infinite loop of John and Keith and Drew Breezy, and just all shows all together everywhere all the time all at once. Like
I love
take
that
this
idea.
metrics, every show's being watched whether you like it or not, and ironically take away the power of the free market and of choice, and just everyone has to watch both
And
shows.
it'll confuse the shit out of YouTube.
Well, YouTube might explode. It's never been patched together that way before. It'll be like a show in the 50s or the 60s about a computer that's like been taught to love. And then like just sparks come out of it, and it's got smoke in the back, and its hooks are flailing wildly. And it just turns over, and then the narrator's just like, if only we could be like him, or he was too beautiful for this world, or
Too beautiful for this.
or the computer's perfection had perfected love, and mankind's ignorance and intolerance, something like that. I don't know. We'll break YouTube is the bullet point of this presentation.
I apologize for the timing, but I have to. I'm in the constraints of my co-host, so we'll blame Rich.
Okay, who's this Rich guy?
He's in the Warthogs Motorcycle Club with me, but he's also a former police officer and one of our sponsors.
Oh, okay. Well, if he's a sponsor, I won't say anything about you having to disregard him, because I understand that.
But I'll have you on right up here on the TV.
Thank you. Yes, that's all I ask. So you sent me a couple articles, as you always do, and I got to start thinking, who lost the offseason, right? There's always jokes every year about the Cowboys losing their bye week or whatever. Very funny, guys. It's not that funny. But who lost the offseason between the Chiefs, their arrests, their controversies, their injuries, or the Cowboys having problems? Like, who actually had a worse time? So the Kansas City, they played their starters, I guess, in a preseason game, the first preseason game. And now one of their newly acquired guys is already hurt. So this is kind of like the final indignity of their offseason. This is from Gridiron Heroics or something, some kind of website. It says, unlike most teams, the Kansas City Chiefs play their starters on their preseason opener. Since head coach Andy Reid took over in 2016, Kansas City has long opted to give their starters ample reps at the preseason in preparation for the grueling 4-month-plus months of competition in the hyper-competitive NFL. Unfortunately, last week, the Chiefs suffered the consequences of playing their starters in a preseason exhibition tilt, and the newly acquired wide receiver Marquise Hollywood Brown going down with an injury on the first play from scrimmage in their loss to the Jacksonville Jaguars. I find that hilarious.
I didn't realize it was the first
play. They're like, we just got this guy, Marquise Brown, probably paid big money for him. They're very excited. All right, Marquise, let's go out there. Chiefs Kingdom, it all starts today. It's the Marquise Brown, Hollywood Brown era. Everyone's happy. He's got the cleats on, puts the helmet on. He lines up, does the stance, the ball's hiked, and all of a sudden, Brown suffered a sternoclavicle joint dislocation. Ouch. That's like Keith throwing himself off a boat. It's the same thing. Kansas City deeming the injury significant enough to send Brown to an overnight stay at a local hospital. Holy fuck, he got admitted to the hospital. On Tuesday, Kansas City gave him an updated timeline of his injury. He's out 4 to 6 weeks, so he's not going to be back until week 4 or 5. By then, the Chiefs will have taken their division, so it's fine. Go ahead, Keith.
Well, he's still got some preseason games, so if he's
out
4 to 6 weeks, but also, I mean, then how gun shy are you? Going into week 1 or week 2, throwing him in here coming right off of an injury. I mean,
I'm actually the exact opposite, because my feeling is like, if you just look at the numbers, like anyone can get injured on any play at any time. So like there's always that element of danger, but then like you've got to step back, right? You got to remember that whether you're playing cards or you're playing dice, the game itself has no memory and the odds are the same. So next time he goes out there at the line of scrimmage, the technically the odds are very against it that he could go out there in week 1, week 2, and immediately get hurt again.
Your body's got a memory, and you can't say that he's going to be fully healed.
It's amazing that you have like a bold stance take against me. I don't even know what to do.
It's only because I suffered a non-football injury, and I'm a little gun shy about certain things that I do now.
You're right. It could change him, and he is a human being. And you're right. The mechanics aren't as simple as a game. I just mean like the odds of something.
For what he's getting paid though, he should be out there.
Yes.
You know,
But I just mean the odds of something happening to him. It all depends on kind of like how much your psychology plays into that, whether you're gun shy or whatever. On Tuesday, NFL insider Jordan Schultz, which means he probably just works for the NFL, announced Kansas City Chiefs wideout Marquise Hollywood Brown would miss upwards of 6 weeks after suffering a sternoclavicular injury in the preseason opener against the Jags. Barring a miracle, Brown will miss the team's regular season opener against the Ravens on Thursday Night Football. Brown could also miss the Chiefs' Week 2 tilt on the road against the Cincinnati Bengals, which you would probably be happy about.
Yep.
Following Brown's injury, head coach Andy Reid, eating a Snickers, compared it to a similarly injury suffered by former.
With a cheeseburger in the other hand.
Well, just how I picture him. As he compared it to a similar injury suffered by former elite Kansas City pass catcher Tyreek Hill in 2019. Hill missed 4 games with a similar injury, but returned to record 5 catches for 80 yards and 2 touchdowns in his first game back from the injured reserve. So that's so they got that. They got him injured in the opening preseason game. But let's go back and remember some of their offseason issues.
Yeah.
Like in memoriam of the Chiefs offseason, right?
If only we had good background music.
Yes, if only we did. Well, I could probably throw something on. And remembering now that this show is it's only for fans. It's only for members and a broadcast on your channel, which is monetized. I think it'll be fine. What about this song?
Oh yeah, that's good.
It's a little electronic.
It's too.
Yeah, let's do this in memory of the Chiefs off season, going back to a hot summer. Let's remember how second-year pro Rashee Rice was facing charges, including aggravated assault, after he and someone else caused a crash with half a dozen vehicles in Dallas last month. All right, I actually can't do the music. It's driving me nuts. I want the show to have that level of production, but I'm just not good enough for it. So Rashee Rice was facing charges for that at one point. Now he's not going to face charges, so that's nice. A separate incident, you had Wanya Morris and Chupabuga Jason Godric were arrested. Sorry, that just sounded like a sound effect from Donkey Kong Country. They were arrested for marijuana possession charges, and they were released on bond. Then let's not forget the Harrison Butker situation, where he went out there and had the audacity to say that women can pursue different things to make themselves happy.
That's where the organ music would have come in.
There's where yes, I should have played a hymn there. But he went out there and said, women, you could go out there and you could have a career. Good on you. But you could also have a husband and children if you want, and that's fine. And all of a sudden everyone's like, boo to families, boo to good moms. Because we're all so used to having shitty moms that none of us even stopped to think for a moment, like, what would be cool? A nice mom. Like having someone that just makes you a grilled cheese when you get home from the pool. Can you imagine, Keith? I can't. I have no idea what that's like. But Butker went out there and said, you know what you could do? You could be that. And then everyone excoriated him for that. But luckily for him, it also made him the most popular and most highly paid kicker in the NFL.
He got paid.
Luckily, Mahomes kind of stayed out of the limelight of the offseason.
Because Brittany doesn't let him go anywhere.
But the Chiefs also probably keep him on a short leash because he's the biggest quarterback in the league. He's probably the face of the NFL. Tom Brady now being absent and going over to being a broadcaster. Let's face it, gang, whether we like it or not, it's Mahomes time. And I'm sure it's not just the Chiefs organization that keeps a close eye on him. But he also Mahomes is a smart guy. He stays out of trouble. I even have to commend him for his comments on Harrison Butker. He says, I've known Harrison Butker for 7 years. And all I can tell you is what I see every single day is that he's a nice person. And I like that he said that, because it's like, well, Harrison Butker, first of all, is not saying hateful or mean things. They're things that like the woke left disagrees with. But they're not hateful. It's not hateful to be a good mom. It's not hateful to be a good wife. It's not hateful for a woman to be selfless and to choose with her own power of choice to set aside her own ambitions in order to raise a family. He's just, those things I think are good things that this country needs, and a family should exist and family should happen. And only a woman can make a family. And Harrison Butker's out there saying that. Whole world wants to destroy him. And then Mahomes kind of comes to his defense. And to be honest, Butker needed Mahomes to do that. If Mahomes had said, look, I don't appreciate his comments either, that would have been bad for him. And I doubt he would have gotten paid if Mahomes hadn't stood beside him. So I guess I have to commend Patrick Mahomes for doing the right thing. This is, it's so easy to do the right thing, right? Except it isn't. Not anymore. Not in these days. Not these days. Like Travis Kelce, case in point.
I was going to say, let's not forget about Travis Kelce.
Travis Kelce,
the worst human being on the face of the planet.
Yeah, bridegroom of Satan. He's got that going for him.
I love Dan Holloway's description of her. I don't know if you've listened.
No, what did Dan Holloway say?
What's he call her? Rat-faced trailer park skank.
That just sounds mean. It doesn't sound like legitimate criticism.
Has a nice ring to it, I think.
Well, it's got a nice ring, I guess. I wasn't judging the aesthetics of it. I thought we were doing a deep dive on Taylor Swift's role in our society, particularly.
I don't know what we're allowed to say, like with switching it over, and then with it going over onto my channel. I don't know what we're allowed to say to where I don't get it knocked off YouTube. But
well, it's your channel.
I mean, the fact that he put a hit out on her. I think he's tired of her.
Well, that's the thing, is that Taylor Swift's role in our society, if we could step out into that tree branch, it's like it's becoming ever bigger all the time, because now we have terrorist plots at Taylor Swift concerts. We had the incident that's going on over in the UK, that was about something related to Taylor Swift as well.
Yeah.
So it's like, why is she the biggest
stretch? They stretch just to get her name in the
yeah,
headlines.
well, because they know that it'll hit the search engine optimization. I understand that. We put certain keywords in our description, so that we can hit when people are searching for things. So anyone that's searching for Taylor Swift now finds everything because she was a part of everything.
Right.
She's somehow the most influential person in the world. If you got her, Elon Musk, and Donald Trump into a room, do you have any idea what would happen to YouTube? YouTube would then really explode.
Right.
If you get those three people
smoking
together. Yeah, it would be bad. Anyway, so Patrick Mahomes, you do have to hand it to him. He did do the right thing, and he stood by Butker when it would have been easy for Mahomes to throw him overboard. But Mahomes has all the clout in the NFL and for the Chiefs. And I think that's the reason why Mahomes is staying out of trouble. But Patrick Mahomes also, just aside from him sometimes kind of throwing a hissy fit about the way things go, I remember last season that happened a few times. He seems like a generally good kid. It's like I'm having a real hard time hating him. You probably don't feel the same way because you're a Bengals fan, right?
I definitely do not.
You do not what? You do not like him or do not hate him?
No, I don't feel the same way as you do.
Oh, you hate him?
Oh yeah.
Well, for the purposes of having an interesting conversation about it, why don't you tell me what you think about Patrick Mahomes?
I mean, we've actually owned him 3 out of 4, but I just don't. I think he's smug. He's somewhat quiet. You don't hear a whole lot about him, which I thought
AFC stats didn't even count.
I can appreciate the fact you don't hear a whole lot about him. As far as, in the news, controversial shit. I can appreciate that because you are the leader of the team. Okay, cool. He's married to a tramp. I don't like her either. I'm just full of hatred, John. It's my turn. It's my turn this week to be full of hatred.
Go ahead. You could be full of unleash. I feel like this is your chance to get it off your chest. It's your channel. Go for it, bud.
It's a good counseling session, but.
So why do you hate Patrick Mahomes? Because I just got on here saying I didn't think he was such a bad guy, and I think maybe this is the difference. Because I'm an NFC guy, I don't.
Oh, I think that's the biggest difference. It's definitely the biggest difference. We have to fucking face them in the postseason all the time, and I fucking hate it.
Is that what it is? Is that he's just for you? He's your own personal Donovan McNabb. It's just it doesn't really matter.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter it doesn't matter who he is or what he's doing or what he thinks, or
he could save a bus full of nuns that's on fire and I would still not like him.
So is the nuns good or the fire bad? Because now I'm fully confused on what your thing is. So, and I'm thinking about Donovan McNabb, but I'm just so full of hatred for him that I'm also confused.
You get it.
I'm all right. I understand. All right. So anyway, so we're trying to figure out who lost the offseason, right? Like shifting back radically onto tracks.
Right.
The Cowboys are still 0-3 with their big 3 contract situation, right? So Cowboys have 3 players that need contracts going nowhere all offseason. Around the league, plenty of other players are getting the contracts that they have coming to them to keep them secure this coming year. But for the Cowboys, that's not the case. Their big 3 contract situations continue to be unresolved. Dak Prescott, quarterback. CeeDee Lamb, wide receiver. Micah Parsons, all-around defensive guy, but linebacker by trade. None of them have struck new deals with the Dallas Cowboys. Jerry Jones went as far as to say that there's no urgency to get Lamb's contract done right now. He later clarified his remarks, which means he had to buy stuff back. I actually read that article and he said, I think I got in trouble the other day when I said that CeeDee Lamb's contract situation wasn't urgent. All he was trying to say was is that CeeDee Lamb would not be playing in any preseason game. So it's not like, CeeDee Lamb's holding out. He's not going to any of the organized team activities. He hasn't reported yet. He's essentially holding out for a contract. Jerry's just saying it hasn't put any official pressure on us yet because we're not expected to be competing right now. And you have to remember, like, historically, Emmitt Smith held out into the season in a year in which they won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, those times are different. I mean, I get it, and I agree with you there, but the times are a little bit different with the way the league was and the way the contracts were set up and all of that. But yeah, for him to say it's not urgent, I can see where people would start freaking. But yeah, he's got time to get his ducks in a row and figure out what he's going to do.
Yeah. So with that in mind, Keith, who do you think lost the offseason? Was it the Chiefs or was it the Cowboys?
To be honest with you, I think it's a toss-up right now just because.
Make a decision, Keith.
All right, I'm going to say the Cowboys, bud.
Damn it. We didn't have anybody go to jail. We didn't have anyone go to arrested. We didn't even crash a car in Dallas.
But they're going to be back on the team. They're going to be playing.
Well, we have other players too. We have Rico Dowdle. He's there.
This is true.
Ezekiel Elliott's back.
I mean, publicity-wise, definitely the Chiefs. But, I mean, if we're talking football.
That's the thing. I would say, if we're going to talk about who really lost the offseason, I guess I'd have to agree on the Cowboys because all the stuff that happened with the Chiefs, it's all going to get ground down in the cycle, right? Like
you don't hear about it anymore.
Yeah, because the Racey Rice thing, he's not facing charges. Those 2 guys in the line that got marijuana charges, who cares about that? I mean, like marijuana is not. I mean, the NFL, it's a big deal, but I mean, it's over with. It's probably already dealt with.
I don't know how nationally it's getting out there. I mean, the Bengals are dealing with a little bit with Jamar Chase because he has been at all of the training camps, but he has not dressed at all because he's going to be due up for a contract, and one of his best buddies, Justin Jefferson, just got paid. So they're using the term, and I've never heard this, or maybe I didn't pay attention. He's not holding out; he's holding in. Well, then the last 2 days, he hasn't been even at the practice field. So
what does holding in mean?
I don't know. I was hoping you would be able to.
Well, I didn't know about it. I'm just not finding out.
I mean, that's what I said. If I heard it, then
does that mean he was reported to the facility so he can't be fined, but he's not doing anything?
Right. He's been there. He's been on the sidelines, and he's actually been working with some of the rookies as far as like talking to him and whatnot, but he has not participated at all. And so Cincinnati is losing their mind right now because I think it's 2 days in a row that he wasn't at the field. I don't know if he was in the building or not, but I mean, ever since training camp started, he had been there. But so I have no idea, what's happening, but that's like our biggest thing that we're dealing with right now.
It seems really smart. You show up at the facility, you're not going to get fined that way. And then you just lock yourself in the bathroom all day.
I'm taking a big shit.
What is this? What is this 3rd period algebra for me? 9th grade? Can I have a pass to the bathroom and I just don't fucking come back for 100 minutes? I just sit there like just hoping that no one's going to come in and look over the side.
So
Yeah, that reminds me of me.
And I don't know how, if you've heard anything about that, or I don't know how national it's going, but here locally, it's all over the place.
No, I have no idea, but I'll look into it. Shifting gears all over to the Patriots now. Jared Mayo, he's the new coach. If you guys don't know, Bill Belichick is out. He's nowhere for some reason. He's not even broadcasting. I guess he's going to be taking the year off. But
I got a definition real quick before you continue. In the NFL, a hold-in is when a player who is unhappy with their contract continues to attend team practices but works separately from the team. Instead of working with the team, the player may work by themselves or with players rehabbing.
Okay, so they're not necessarily locked in the bathroom.
Okay.
All right, well, that's good.
It was actually driving me nuts. I should have looked it up before the show, and I apologize.
I forgive you, but never let it happen again.
Okay.
All right. This from Yahoo Sports, the pinnacle of sports reporting. Tensions have been flaring across the NFL during the ramp-up to the regular season. The innate physicality of the sport has the ability to boil over after the play is whistled dead. Just ask the New York Giants and the Detroit Lions, who got into numerous scuffles during the joint practices last week, to the point where Daniel Jones was even like jumping in there. The New England Patriots are next in line for a joint practice as they host the Philadelphia Eagles. Patriots head coach Jared Mayo is well aware of the potential for fights during this time, so he laid out the ground rules for his team as it pertained to getting into physical altercations. Now, this is the reason why I brought this to the show today, because Coach Mayo is laying it down on the line, but I wanted to expose this as a logical fallacy. Because why else do I exist? I don't know. Maybe no reason. He says, you don't fight in a real game. You fight in a real game, you get fined. You get kicked out, Mayo told the media. My message to the players, if you get in a fight out here, if you're a starter, you're going to play the whole preseason game. And if you're not a starter, you won't play at all. So basically, he's going to punish everyone by giving them the opposite of what they want and also punish the other person. So here's an example of what I mean. So suppose you have a starter. He gets into a fight. So, whoever that is, now he's going to be punished by having to play the whole preseason game, which for him means a bigger toll physically for him, a bigger risk for injury. But now it also punishes the guy who's just trying to show what he can do.
He's just trying to make it.
He's like, he's like me going out there suiting up like, oh my God, this might be my only chance to ever play an NFL game will be this preseason game. I get to put on this helmet, this silver helmet with this Patriots logo on the side, and I get to go out there and live my dream of lining up and taking a pass from whoever and playing with these other NFL starters. This may be my only chance to impress this coach in order to make this squad. But instead, because one of the starters who already is going, because they're making millions of dollars and their contract is signed, they're not going anywhere. They're not actually competing for a job. They have to stay in the field, and they're going to be punishing the guys who are just trying to break into the NFL. So those guys are fucked. But also, if you're not a starter, you won't play at all. So what does that mean? Does that mean the starters who aren't starting the shit, they have to go out there and play the whole time? And they're like, but I didn't do anything. So does he not realize that like this weird collective punishment is just fucking everyone over? I get it. Like you have to deal
unorthodox.
You have to stop people from fighting, but you realize that because you're going to make them do the opposite of whatever it is they want to do, you're affecting the other person as well. I just wonder if anyone has let Jared Mayo know that he is screwing over two people every time he makes a decision like that. Are you following me? Do I sound like I'm making sense?
Yeah, I mean it's very unorthodox, and I mean I don't think all the starters are going to play. It's going to be that starter. So if let's just hypothetically say Drake May is going to be the starter and he starts shit in practice, he's going to play the whole game, and the backups and the third string aren't going to get any reps.
Yeah, the third string guy. Let's call him Jared Stidham. And he wants to get in there and play, but now Stidham can't. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. So then after that game, hypothetically, after that game, you get back in the locker room. Now you've got second stringers and third stringers, and we'll call them walk-ons or
walk-ons.
Invited to team activities, trying to make the team. Now you've got them all bullshit. Now you've created fucking bedlam in your locker room.
Well, yeah, because they're all going to be mad at each other and be like, "Why did you have to start? Shut up! Now I didn't get to play, or I had to
Right.
play the whole time."
But on the other hand, that peer pressure helps.
Peer pressure, but yes, you could call it peer pressure. I could call it collective punishment, though.
Yeah. Well, yep.
It is a way of getting them to police themselves, I guess. If you do need to have a tight and well organized group that does do that. You need to particularly have your team captains and just your natural leaders doing that. And I think it's one thing to face down the coach and to be in his office and to take a lecture from him, but to have to be in that locker room and to have to be competing with guys for spots on the final 53-man roster. I think it's fairly effective, but
to put it in terms of like fire training, like teaching, we used to be able to punish, if you messed up, you did something wrong, didn't have a piece of your gear, that you needed. There were punishments. Well, now you're not allowed to do that anymore. So now we have to get creative, and we call it like we used to. If somebody messed up, we had 2 sections of 2.5-inch diameter hose that were 50 feet long, filled with sand, and they were capped on both ends.
Oh, just for dragging?
Yeah, and you had to drag them around the burn tower. Well, now, and they were called the Twins. So we're like, all right, well, you've got a visit to Twinsburg, at the end of the day. Well, we're not allowed to do that anymore. Now we call it remedial hose advancement training. So you just got to get creative. It's not hazing. It's not punishment.
Remedial hose advancement training. It sounds kind of. It's kind of turning me on, to be honest.
There you go. You're welcome. The rest of your day is going to be fantastic.
All right. Sorry for that, guys. Let's to break down the Olympics. The Olympic Games ended. I don't know if Keith, if you saw the closing ceremonies where Tom Cruise just showed up for no reason and jumped off of a thing and rappelled down a rope. And
I saw bits of like the clips of it. I did not watch
he was
any of the
there.
Olympics.
But here's the final breakdown. We won the Olympics. That's right. The United States has once again won the Olympics. We got 126 medals, but unfortunately we tied the Chinese for golds. But I would say the tiebreaker is that we still own the moon. So that's the final full breakdown of the 2024 Olympic Summer Games. Keith, any final commentary before we close that out and forget about it for all time?
Jill, I have to find Jill's Facebook post, but she made a funny post about the whole Tom Cruise thing. She said it looked like somebody's Aunt Mildred.
Well, he is like 65.
But all the plastic surgery, he looks it, but he doesn't look it. So her comment on Facebook was absolutely hysterical, I thought. But
Jill is funny, but I've never seen her rappel down a rope.
No, nor have I. If I do, you'll get a video. I just we talked about the Olympics. I just didn't have any interest this year at all. Now I did hear that they're taking out breakdancing.
That's probably for the best.
Yes, breakdancing won't be in. Baseball and softball will be back in.
You know what's weird though is that this is actually germane to us. Is that they put flag football in the Olympics? I didn't see any coverage of that at all.
I did. Well, the clips, watching ESPN or whatever, I didn't see anything either.
I didn't see anything on it at all, and like you'd think there would be, because there's a lot of like pretty strange sports. Like there's like women's free climbing, which I thought was CGI. I'm like, there's no way that's real, and then apparently that's a whole thing. I guess I never even knew about that. And breakdancing, as you said, I would feel like, and in any of this artistic stuff, the artistic swimming where they're upside down swimming to Snoop Dogg, like I would feel like that. Why didn't we see any flag football, particularly with as hard as the NFL is pushing it, with Roger Goodell saying we're breaking, the NFL's breaking into flag football, and flag football is going to take over the world. And finally, make soccer completely irrelevant. And yet we didn't see any of it being broadcast here. It seems like Roger Goodell and ESPN, I mean, let's not kid ourselves, right? Like it's all just a big soup of power and guys, rubbing each other's backs and one big circle jerk is, I guess, the way that Failure to Stop would put it. But, why didn't we see any of that? And I just have to wonder, is the world just not ready for flag football yet? Or just did they not think it would be good for ratings even at like 3 a.m.? Like, I just have to wonder why it just conspicuously absent.
Well, Murph 530 said I think that's for the 28 Olympics, which is what I heard. I didn't know if it was in this one or not, to be honest.
Well, that would be a conspiracy theory to say that it was absent this year because it's not scheduled to take place. But we can't advance that theory because it would make me appear foolish.
Well, yeah, we don't want that. We don't need
No.
that. We don't need that. We don't need that smoke. See, there it is again.
Yes, to put you on the defensive, Fort Leonard Wood firefighters are training with new equipment designed to suppress EV fires. Are you aware of these things, Keith? Are you working on EV fires there in Cincinnati?
We
You
have
ever had?
we have definitely haven't done any physical training with it, but we've had tabletops and some lecture training on it. But you know what's funny is you put all this in, and I don't have any of these articles. It's weird.
What do you mean?
Any of the things that you've talked about so far, I have none of these articles.
Am I supposed to send them to you before the show?
Oh, I thought that would be a good idea, but
Oh, no. I want to rely on your professional experience if you don't mind.
all right.
This comes from a website. This is about U.S. Army Training and Doctrine Command at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. Fort Leonard Wood firefighters have a new fire suppressing blanket that they've designed to fight electric and hybrid vehicle fires. As they received hands-on training with the equipment August 8th at the training area. According to some guy that works there, an assistant chief for training of Fort Leonard Wood Fire Department, which is part of the Directorate of Emergency Services, they're the first fire department in the local area to have this technology. Unlike the gas-powered counterparts, electric vehicles combust differently, leading to fires that last longer and are harder to extinguish, he said. When electric vehicles catch fire, they're harder to put out, according to him, because the batteries are made of several individual cells, and when one of these short circuits, it releases the energy quickly, creating massive heat. Hundreds or thousands of cells releasing their energy simultaneously multiply that heat, making it exceedingly difficult to extinguish the flames. Keith, what do you know about putting out fires on electric vehicles?
Takes a shit ton of water, and that's a measurement. I'm trying to remember how many episodes. Well, Dan was still on the One More and I'm Out of Here podcast. We threw some videos up of electric vehicles blowing up because we were talking about the Ford trucks, the electric trucks that they were going to stop making because nobody was buying them, and there were some that had caught fire on an expressway, and it was impressive. I mean, to say the least. I mean, just the explosion alone, and then just the continual burning, and then you figure if you do get them out, that chemical reaction is still taking place, and they'll reignite anyway. So you have to put so much water on them. I mean, it's a ton.
What do you think of this blanket technology that's used, I presume, to cut off the oxygen?
Yeah, I'm not super familiar. I've seen pictures of it, but I have not done any investigating on it because I don't think we have any room on our trucks for it. So
you don't have room for a big blanket?
No. Did you see the size of the fucking thing?
It was big, yeah, but I assume they folded or something.
Yeah, even if you fold it, that's still going to take up a shit ton of room.
Sorry, I this is why I talked to you about it, because I don't know.
I'm educating you. I think if it's gonna, I would need to do more research on it just to see. Okay, so it cuts the oxygen off. What happens when you take the blanket off?
The oxygen would come back. I
chemical reaction's still going to happen.
Yeah, that is a good.
Electric vehicles scare the hell out of us, just because if somebody's, I know it's a sports show, but we'll go into it real quick because you asked. But if we're going to extricate somebody out and use hydraulic cutters and spreaders, there's certain places that we can cut on that car, and there's certain places that we can't because there's huge electric wires that are running through, frame rails or, all over. And we have a guide in our truck that if we have the time and we rolled up, we could look it up and it'll give us a schematic, a pretty dumbed down schematic of, where the high voltage lines are. But we're not seeing a ton. I mean, there's a bunch of Teslas driving around, up here, but. And then the Chevy Volt, I think that's like another popular one. But I mean, we have not had, knock on wood, too many EV issues, but I'm not a fan at all.
The EV fire suppressing blankets work by depriving the fire of oxygen, suppressing open flames, lowering the temperature, and decreasing smoke volume. With the invention of the smothering technique, it protects the firefighters and will keep the fire contained. This greatly reduces the risk of bodily harm and property damage due to the unpredictable nature of battery fires. It will, however, take some time to suppress the fire, sometimes days. So I guess this is a measure just to kind of get the situation under control. Limit exposures is something that firefighters often say.
But you still got to get up there to put it on.
Yes, but you would be up there anyway spraying water on it, right?
Yeah, but we would have more of a distance because we could up the
So
pressure on
so
a
so
hose.
so
and
hear me out, Keith. And I'm
Hear
just I'm thinking asymmetrically here. So this blanket's got a grommet on each corner like a tarp. Like hypothetically, I don't know this is the case, but I'm working it out in my mind.
Put that picture back up. You'll see it.
Well, I could if I was not thinking openly here.
Well, I'm trying to help you.
So I see these guide ropes or whatever. Now I know that one of these is a cinch rope that it's using to kind of cinch the blanket down around it. But see these orange tags on the side here at the corners.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that those are something that they can use. You have two firefighters. You grab the blanket in front of the vehicle lengthwise and then run across the vehicle. So you run past it, and then you've got two other firefighters who are obviously holding the back corners, and they're standing still. I think that allows you to kind of hold the blanket up and run past it, and maybe you're not that close to it. You're fighting a fire, so of course you're somewhat close to it, but maybe that helps to limit it because you've got these guiding straps or whatever that you attach onto the corners. And I think maybe that helps you stay safe as you drag the blanket across it, and then you cinch it down.
Maybe.
I guess that's what I would recommend as a non-firefighter.
I will look into it. At first, I thought they were almost like sandbags just to keep it from blowing up.
Maybe.
But
So the day's coming when you're going to have to respond to an electric vehicle fire, Keith. That's what they're saying is happening out at Fort Leonard Wood. That the day's coming that they want to be ready to respond to that. They've received 3 blankets there, and they're hoping to add a 4th next year. I imagine that every time they use one, it's done for. It can't be reused. Each frontline engine in our tanker truck will have these EV blankets on them. They are expensive and can only be used once. So I was right. Due to saturation of toxins and heavy metals, they will only be utilized on EV and large lithium battery fires. After watching the manufacturer's video on how to use the blanket, firefighters met at their fire and rescue training site to try it for themselves. Fort Leonard Wood firefighter Lieutenant Matt Bates, who might be kicking for the Detroit Lions this fall, said he had never worked with something like this before. It's a unique idea on how to smother battery fires. It can be so tough to put out. Instead of using mass quantities of water, like you said, we can use this blanket to take the oxygen out of the equation, Bates said. It was pretty simple, just like laying a blanket down. He said it was another tool to be glad to have in his firefighter toolkit. EVs are becoming more popular. A lot of government vehicles on the post are EVs now. We will need this one day. I think it's going to come in very handy, Bates said. You know what I think is interesting is a 911 dispatcher. We're very slow and behind the curve to be asking these on MVAs. We take calls for motor vehicle accidents every single day, but it's not part of our call taking protocol to ask if these are electric or hybrid vehicles, at least not at my agency. I'm sure other agencies are asking this, but like that's something we need to know now. And it's not just for the firefighting department, because you guys need to know that, but typically these vehicles are heavier, if I'm not wrong, Keith, and you'll need 2 tow trucks to get these things.
Yeah, they are super heavy.
What
That's a
makes
good
them
point
so
that you brought up, though. I mean, yeah. I mean, I've any MVA that I've been on, I've never heard them say, "Oh, this is an electric vehicle."
that might be something just to bring up with your local dispatch, just to figure out, if that's something that you need to be concerned about or something that you should just add to the protocol. Like we ask certain things, right? Like, first of all, is anybody injured? Where are you located? The airbags deployed? Is there any smoke or fluids? Anything else like that? You're blocking the land shovel. You got your hazards on. These are the kind of this typical battery of questions, no pun intended. But we need to know if these are electric or hybrid vehicles, and we need to kind of get that into our procedures and protocols now, because you can't go anywhere without seeing an electric vehicle. I just went to the grocery store this morning. It was kind of an interesting thing because I live in a town in a small Midwestern town with 700 people. I go to the grocery store. First of all, the grocery store is 6 aisles and has 1 person working there. I get there, every single vehicle in the parking lot is a pickup truck. It's hilarious. I go in there. It's country music from the 80s. It's Conway Twitty playing on there.
Yes.
And when I say to the cashier, howdy, she literally says, I'm fine. How are you? And I thought, oh, she misheard me. And then I'm like, oh no, howdy is a contraction for how are you doing? And so she literally understands howdy as a question. And I'm like, this is amazing. My life's amazing. But then as I'm leaving, I'm noticing one of these vehicles, you see, the GMCs there, the Rams there, the Ford F-350s. But then I see this one Hyundai Santa Cruz. I'm like, that's a weird truck, first of all. Like, it takes some stones to drive that in this town. Then I'm realizing that this thing's and then I look at this other vehicle and I'm like, this thing, it has an electric Hemi in it. This Ram has some sort of hybrid Hemi in it or something. And I don't even know what the fuck it was, but I'm just like, even in this small town way up north where it's cold, we've got electric vehicles everywhere. So we've got to start asking, Keith, I guess is my.
Well, no, I agree. And for the people that choose to buy them, I mean, there are more being bought, but if you're looking at some of the manufacturers, they've shut down their lines because the sitting president, if that's what you want to call him, it was a big push, and there were a lot of tax breaks and everything for them to start doing that. Well, then they realized, well, we're not making any money off of this. So, especially the trucks. Now, the Teslas are rolling. I've seen a few around here, the Cyber trucks, which I think are absolutely hideous. I've seen a few of those, but there are going to be people out there that are buying them. So we are going to run across them. You're going to hear about them, via telephone. So I don't know. I like the fact that you threw that in there.
Thank you. Did you want to?
Awesome if you'd have sent that to me, so I could have gotten a little bit more.
Well, I wanted you to be speaking extemporaneously. Did you want to talk about your baseball article? Because I feel like I don't know what's going on. From Yahoo Sports, Jaron Duran's word choice offers latest evidence that MLB still has a long way to go.
Oh yeah. So this happened on Sunday. A frustrated individual at Fenway Park hollered in the direction of Red Sox center fielder Jaron Duran, who was up to bat against the Houston Astros. And in quotes, it was tennis racket. You need a tennis racket. So nothing particularly pointed or offensive, nothing about the player's family, just a typical run-of-the-mill chirp, as the article says. Duran got pissed, turned around, and I'm trying to find where it blanked it out, but pretty much called him a homosexual slur. And since he was at bat around home plate, it got picked up by almost every mic.
Ooh. And
the broadcast.
You know what's funny is that I really haven't heard that word since the 90s. It used to get used all the time.
The other article that I had said what it was, but I mean, it really doesn't matter. It was.
You don't know what it was?
The article that I sent you didn't have it in blanked out. I think it was fucking. I believe.
Oh, Keith, why did you just say that?
I know. Well, you kept pushing me.
Well, I wasn't pushing you. I thought we would tacitly acknowledge that we knew what it was.
That's what he said. I can't help it. I can't help it. He said it.
Oh, well, you just sunk your own channel.
Well, all right. Well, we'll see what happens. It's happened before.
Yeah, probably
many times. I've actually talked to you a couple times about it.
That's true. Anyway, just wanted to apologize to fans of Keith for him using that word.
I was quoting, by the way.
So what did you have to say about that, though? I mean, so obviously,
this guy was an all-star. He's an all-star center fielder, and he was the MVP of the All-Star game. And so he got fined. He got fined around $8,500 according to the article, and that's going to be donated to an organization for LGBTQ plus advocacy.
It's the organization's called PFLAG, which I think is very dangerous.
Yes. So the statement from the Red Sox says, in consultation with Major League Baseball, the Red Sox today issued an unpaid 2-game suspension to outfielder Jaron Duran, beginning with tonight's game against the Texas Rangers at Fenway Park. 2 games is not a lot. Additionally, I agree. And I'll hit that in a second. Additionally, Duran's salary from the 2-game suspension will be donated to PFLAG, Federation of Parents and Friends of Lesbians and Gays, the United States' largest organization dedicated to supporting, educating, and advocating for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer people and those who love them. So he says that and he's on the field and gets a 2-game suspension. It went over the broadcast. So it was heard across the country, whoever was watching that game, and I'm assuming on ESPN. We have a local guy here, Marty Brenneman, who was the voice of the Reds. Well, his son, Tom Brenneman, did NFL, MLB, and is very good. He's a great sportscaster. He was in Kansas City, and during a commercial break, had a hot mic and used that F word in reference to Kansas City. calling that the F word capital of the world, and has been out of broadcasting for probably 2 years.
Who said that?
Tom Brenneman.
Oh, yeah, I remember him.
Yeah. So we had his dad, Marty, on one of our live events, and great people. So, he had to go in, right when they came back, do his apology. Pretty much said he knew that he wasn't going to be working anymore. Well, he just got picked up by a smaller network, so he will be working again. But so we're talking about the 2 games versus like roughly 2 years, and I can't remember exactly. So I do find it kind of amusing in the fact that the punishments aren't aligning. Let's see.
The punishment's going to kick in immediately, making Duran, who is on track to appear in all 162 games this season, unavailable Monday and Tuesday against the Texas Rangers. It's an obvious blow to Boston's lineup. The team has lost 4 in a row.
And that was 4 years ago, not 2. I misspoke.
And sits 3 games out of a playoff spot. So kind of a critical time for Boston. Not a good time for them to be losing him. Just a week ago, the MLB mourned the death of one Billy Beane. And I know Keith wanted to talk about this last week, but he was the second openly gay retired player in league history. He died at age 60 from leukemia. He had retired in 95, and he worked for the league for 10 years, beginning in 2014 as an ambassador of inclusion, which, shouldn't shock me. I'm guessing the NFL has probably an equivalent of that.
Right. I guarantee it.
But it's just funny that, the NFL world, or excuse me, the Major League Baseball world has been talking about Billy Beane and his contributions and what it meant to be a closeted gay guy playing baseball. And this guy gets so frustrated at a fan, heckling him, which you have got to be used to as a Major League Baseball player. Like, this is not the first time it's happened to him.
I mean,
you've got to be smarter than that, is particularly in 2024.
Right. And that's that's just the ironic part is you're within 20 feet, of that first row, second row, third row of people who, if you're sitting back there, you are typically a diehard fan of that home team because those seats are generally very expensive. So, and depending on what city you're in, depending on how the fan base is, you've got to let that shit roll off your back. But I don't know what his contract is, but $8,500 doesn't seem like very much either.
No. Well, I think they're hoping that, like most things, it'll get churned up in the PR cycle and people will forget about it, particularly in baseball. I think
right.
that will work. We're kind of running out of time, so I just also wanted to throw it back to firefighters. 2 Phoenix firefighters to go on trial after felony child abuse allegations. This from Phoenix. This is from Fox 10. 2 now former Phoenix firefighters are expected to go to trial after being accused of felony child abuse. The firefighters are parents to a little boy. And according to court documents, Charles Boggiano and Jacqueline Arnold left the boy, too, alone inside the truck while they went into a 511 tactical store in September of 2023. A bystander called 911 after spotting the boy about 15 minutes after his parents went inside. The time frame may have been longer had it not been for Boggiano seeing the complainant walk over and look inside the truck while on the phone, the court documents read. Investigators say it was about 96 outside that day.
Where was this at?
Phoenix. Both parents are charged with 1 count of felony child abuse. The parents were interviewed by the Department of Child Services. Both parents claimed that Boggiano stayed in the truck until he had to take Arnold her wallet inside the store. However, court documents say the parents were both seen going into the store together on surveillance footage. The documents went on to say the 2 are seen shopping inside the store while the young child would have no means to protect himself from a stranger or the elements, sat helpless inside the truck, unattended and alone. Furthermore, the child victim had no way to alert his parents if he was in danger, not adjust the temperature inside the truck if needed. The child was completely vulnerable to his surroundings. On August 12th, the fire department, set in part the Phoenix Fire Department, is aware of the incident. Both members in question have been terminated. Arnold's attorney said to Fox 10 on August 13th that the air conditioner was on inside the truck. Police did not confirm that. The trial is expected to take place later this year. So now the parents don't have jobs.
Right. Idiots.
They're still probably going to have custody of the kid because it takes a lot more than this to forever lose custody of your child, even if they get convicted of a felony. Now, what happens next? They spend some time in jail. Are they going to take turns going to prison? Who's going to stay with the kid while they're in prison?
Yeah, children's services.
Yeah, which is going to be great for the kid.
Exactly.
Also, just
Yeah, good. Yeah, you're never going to be fire people again.
no, that's a shame.
Jesus
Brandon
Christ.
Brandon Ayuk watch day 29, possibly going to the Steelers. Keith,
Watch day 29. We need to put a ticker on.
we should. As the Brandon Ayuk turns on the same front, there's been no meaningful update on the Brandon Ayuk saga, and quite honestly, watching fencing at 3 a.m. was probably a better use of your time and mental energy. See, there was fencing, but not flag football. Over the past 3 weeks, Ayuk has gone on from requesting a trade, being reported interested in the Steelers. He turned down a huge contract from the Pats, probably because he wants to be able to fight during the preseason. He spurned the Browns. He probably called the Browns and said, yeah, I'll play for you guys, and then spurned them just because it's fun to spurn the Browns. And is now in contracts talks again with the 49ers for a long-term deal. As of right now, day 29, we have no solution on Brandon Ayuk watch, Keith.
No solution. No, we're swimming in a sea of uncertainty, just like we have been for the last 2 months.
I will call you when I hear something about this.
Yeah, please do. I mean, in the headlines, and I know we got to run, but the headlines will grab you just enough. And I'm one that when I see a headline, I actually read the article, and then at the end of the article, it's right back to what you and I are talking about. But it's like, oh, they may have come up with a deal. But
No,
it's waiting on the San
getting
Francisco
cock
49ers.
teased and blue balled about the Brandon Ayuk situation every single day.
Oh my God.
Sorry to use those terms, I know, but it's already been a pretty offensive show.
Right.
Thanks everyone for watching this episode of Illegal Shifts. We hope that you like what you've seen here. This is probably one of our better episodes. But
all
we
over
do.
the place. I like it.
We're all over the place. And to employ a sports metaphor, I threw Keith a curveball because I started talking to him about firefighter shit because I wanted to watch him come alive.
It's actually softball, but okay.
You don't throw curveballs in baseball?
We do, but it's always, oh, here, I'm throwing you a softball.
Oh, but it was a curveball is what I was doing. I realized it's a softball too.
Okay.
Because you're a fireman fighter, so it's like you're good at it.
A fireman fighter. I love it.
But you didn't know those were coming. I wanted to know. I wanted to see if you were like a closeted anti-blanket fireman guy.
No, I'm going to actually research it now. We will do training on it Friday.
Deadleg says I didn't get us demonetized this time. Deadleg, this is the point of us going to members only, is that we had demonetized ourselves so we could do whatever we want to do. We demonetized ourselves. We're members only now on Failure to Stop, and the show airs over on One More and I'm Out of Here. We do this, Deadleg, I don't know if I ever told you this, we switched over to One More and I'm Out of Here so that we stop messing up the algorithm. We're actually getting more views on One More than we ever got on Failure to Stop. So we're getting more views by being on Kiefer's channel, and we're protecting Eric's precious algorithm, which is the God that we all pray to as podcasters, the God that we must appease and sacrifice a virgin to. And Deadleg, let's face it, I'm the only virgin on the team, but we could also sacrifice a crippled person, which would have to be you. So like you and I really need to be protecting this algorithm thing. I want to recognize the people who are in the chats. Tyler S., one of my favorite human beings on the planet, contributed greatly to every single thing that I do as a podcaster. Murph 530 is here. Appreciate you. He said it was a funny clip watching the suspensions of dumb kind of comes with playing for the MLB and their rules. Falk around to find out says, damn it, Kiefer, which is a totally Brittany thing to say. We appreciate him or appreciate her. Excuse me, Britt, I'm sorry. But it is that time of being alive where it doesn't matter what your pronouns are anymore. Lauren, hello. It's good to always see you here. Thank you also for everything that you do for me. I appreciate you. Foxy says, my virgin ears. That's how she reacted to you saying that. Make sure you guys hit the like button, although I don't know how it actually matters on members only content, because members only content, YouTube doesn't even keep track of how many people watch it. They just keep track of total time watched. So like we had a show recently where it had like 29 hours watched. I'm like, is that a lot? And then I'm like, no, the show was an hour long, so it wasn't a lot. But that was just on Failure to Stop. I don't know how many people watched it over on your channel. So thank you for listening to and watching One More and I'm Out of Here. This is kind of slowly becoming that show. We appreciate you. Cupcake says, John, if you're a virgin, does that mean you and Kendra never consummated your marriage? I'm going to Florida in 3 weeks, And I would never be so brazen to say that we're going to consummate. Because I feel like Kendra will never talk to me again if I say that. But we're going to renew our vows for sure. Anyway, I'm going to just end the show on that classless note. Keith, anything else?
No. Guns up, giddy up.
We'll be back for Brandon Ayuk Watch Day 30. We'll advise you all. Guns up, giddy up. Have a good day, everybody. And I'm so glad we didn't do that horse semen thing.